Every day, hundreds of thousands of patrolmen report for duty, armed with a badge and the latest in video technology. You are about to witness their never-before-seen footage. Their stories caught on tape. Tonight on Disorderly Conduct, a suspect gets shot. A teen's terrifying ride. A man rolls out. A driver hangs on. And a felon hits hard.
You're under arrest for disorderly conduct.
I'm not disorderly.
All appears calm in the Fort Paul Indian Reservation in Idaho. But in fact, a vehicle is headed this way at about 90 miles an hour. The driver is wanted on assault charges and is trying to outrun police. These troopers have been dispatched to lay down spike strips that should bring the pursuit to a quick conclusion. They wave an innocent motorist through, then roll out the strips. Each spike is 2.5 inches long with 3 sharp cornered edges. Now it's a waiting game, but they don't have to wait long. Within moments, the suspect is in sight. The van slams into the squad car, while the trooper dives for his life. The impact hurls the van into the middle of the road. Barely missing the cruiser with the camera, the trooper comes through with only minor cuts and bruises from flying debris. The driver sustains serious injuries to the head and back, but he survives the collision. And now, in addition to assault and refusal to stop, he'll be booked for attempted murder. It's a drunk driving stop in Ohio, and the motorist quickly becomes combative.
This is me off because you guys give these tests. Okay. All right. You do it.
The officer keeps the situation under control, even if the driver is not.
So go ahead and turn around, place your hands behind your back for me. Like this? Okay. Well, I'm not going to tell you again.
The situation escalates as the driver resists the officer's commands.
You're not going to do my test. I'm going to place you under arrest. Okay? It was 2 hours. I've already told you I'm not a circle road post. We're out there. All right, sir. We're out there. Officer. Don't look. I just got me.
When the suspect refuses to follow instructions, the officer resorts to his taser gun. Non-lethal jolts of electricity temporarily paralyze the suspect.
So I'm going to do it again. So turn around, put your hands behind your back, because you're going to get it again. No. On the ground. On your stomach now. No. On the ground now. No.
The driver is hit repeatedly with 50,000 volts, but he still refuses to surrender.
Okay, all right here. No. No, on your stomach. And I'm not going to tell you again.
Finally, the combination of electricity and alcohol takes its toll, and the drama comes to an end.
You're now under arrest for DUI and resisting arrest.
An ending that's safest for both the officer and the suspect. In Livonia, Michigan, dash cameras from 2 police cruisers catch all the non-stop action during this late-night chase. And the suspect in this stolen truck is wanted for armed robbery after allegedly pistol-whipping employees and stealing thousands of dollars from a meat company. Finally, cops have had enough and prepare to take him out. The officer wants permission to use the precision immobilization technique, the pit maneuver, to clip the truck and spin it out. 2 cameras catch the dangerous high-speed action. Here's the view from the cop car pulling off the pit. The perpetrator wrestles with the wheel of the swerving truck and regains control. But these cops want to stop this pursuit, and they want to stop it now. Again, the high-speed action from both cameras. As this patrol car hits the meat truck. It's a perfect pit. This cop drives right up to the cab so officers can use his hood to get to the suspect. Cops storm the scene with guns drawn.
Get up! Don't keep your hands away from the
They cuff him on the hood of the police car. Then he's marched past the dash cam. These videos show just how all those weeks of driver training pay off for the police. One good pit maneuver, and a dangerous suspect is taken off the road and straight to jail. There's a lot more disorderly conduct straight ahead. A teen's first time behind the wheel may turn out to be her last. And this suspect digs himself in deep.
now!
Don't go away. Disorderly conduct is just beginning. Tuella, Utah, a 15-year-old runaway has taken her parents' car. After a 20-mile highway pursuit, she now leads a dozen patrol cars on a 105-mile-an-hour chase along a riverbank. She's got 2 male passengers with her. Her tires have been completely shredded by a spike strip. Smoke and debris fly off the vehicle. And still, she races at over 100 miles an hour. Suddenly, the teenager loses control of the vehicle. The car flies off the road, somersaults, and lands upside down in this river. Officers cautiously approach the wreckage with guns drawn, although the teen and her companions could easily be dead. One bedraggled survivor climbs out of the wreckage with hands up, followed by the other 2. The 15-year-old driver and her 2 passengers are soaked, shaken, and battered by their violent crash. But amazingly, they sustain only minor injuries. And there's one more survivor from this crash. The cop carries a dog that's also been rescued from the wreckage. Now this out-of-control teen not only faces serious criminal charges, she's got to explain to her parents how she wrecked their car. The driver of this pickup is being pulled over for weaving and not wearing his seatbelt.
Driver's license, insurance, and registration.
This sort of stop is fairly routine for Officer Christopher Oskins.
I also need to see your ID, too.
For what?
But right away, it's not going well.
Excuse me?
For what?
For what?
Yeah,
Because you know why you're getting stopped? It's because you're not wearing your seatbelt. ID.
Well, I'm not even. I don't have my ID, so I'm sorry. I don't have it with me.
Step out of the car. Turn around, push your hands on the car real quick.
For what?
Because I want to pat you down, that's what.
For what reason?
Because officer safety, that's why. All right?
Say what?
You threaten me again, and I guarantee you'll
care.
go.
You know, I'm not afraid of you, buddy. I'll start kicking your ass right here. I'll kick your ass.
You know what?
Before? You will get a kick from me because I'm not
Turn around, place your hands behind your back.
No way.
Yeah, you're under arrest for disorderly conduct.
I'm not disorderly.
It should all end here, but this is when the situation gets ugly.
I'm not disorderly. I'm not being arrested. I'm not being arrested like that. You call the state police. Because you gave him a You call. Don't let him get you.
That's his friend jumping in. The first guy's no match for Officer Oskins, who gets him on the ground. But the second assailant punches him in the face. The officer tosses him to the ground too, then pulls his collapsible nightstick. Officer Oskins pulls his gun.
Drop it! Drop the weapon! Don't worry. Let's go get our lawyer.
Oskins has remained calm until now.
Get out of the
The suspects wave at passing traffic, trying to get other motorists involved. And a truck actually pulls into the lot to see what's going on. This outmanned patrolman needs help fast.
1060. Fighting with two suspects. He's got a shovel. He's gonna swing at me with it. Drop the shovel now!
You're in trouble, Benny. You're in trouble.
Drop it now!
You're gonna get sued, buddy. Get out of here. You're out of this town, buddy.
Request a foretell for my unit.
Help finally arrives and the suspects are arrested.
They're both under.
For Officer Oskins, this is a day he'll never forget. And despite the presence of a shovel, a gun, and flying fists, no one is seriously injured. It's the dramatic end to a high-speed police pursuit in Lancaster, Ohio. This is how it began just a few minutes before. It's 3 a.m. and cops pursue a runaway teenager and his girlfriend through the streets of this central Ohio city. Officer Marlo Morehouse heads towards the action. Her plan is to redirect traffic as the chase gets closer. What Officer Morehouse doesn't know is that the driver is about to lose control while going over 90 miles an hour. She makes the fateful decision to turn at the intersection and suddenly faces this. The teenagers are lucky. One suffers a bloody nose, the other a sprained finger. But what about Officer Morehouse? Her car is heavily damaged. Her airbag is deployed. But this cop is a survivor. This 6-year veteran sustains face and back injuries but returns to duty a few weeks later. As for the driver of the car, he loses both his freedom and his license for a long time to come. There have been a series of break-ins in a nearby car dealership, so when the Dallas trooper sees a suspicious vehicle parked nearby, he decides to investigate.
What are you doing over there? Why don't you put your hands on top of the hood for me? There, put your hands on top of the car for me. Where's that?
Officer Barnes has no idea the suspect's guilty of something far worse than breaking and entering. He's just shot and killed a father of 2 in a botched robbery attempt. He also doesn't know the murder weapon is still in the car.
Put your hands up here. Put your hands up here. Put your hands up here. Get out of...
The suspect fires the gun right at Officer Barnes' head. The officer, who's never been in a gunfight before, pulls his service revolver and shoots at the fleeing suspect.
Running towards the car company. Where you at, huh?
Despite the shot fired at point-blank range, Officer Barnes was not hit. After a 3-hour search, police capture the shooter. Now he's serving life in prison for murder. Coming up, this driver hits the road. And this shopper isn't about to let a locked door get in his way. It's all next on Disorderly Conduct. South Central Los Angeles, and a group of joyriders show off. The driver and his accomplices hang out the window, even though they're being pursued by the LAPD suspected of a 211. A holdup in this case. They're on the road and on the sidewalk and back on the road again. Running through intersections and passing patrol cars. Public safety is job one for these cops, and they have every reason to believe these suspects are armed and dangerous, so they keep their distance, but always keep them in sight. And then, the car stops and a suspect gets out and drops to his knees to surrender. The car is off again, but only for a few yards when the backseat passenger also jumps out and surrenders. The driver's off again at high speed, tosses a gun out the window. But there's a good chance there's another loaded weapon in the vehicle. And of course, the vehicle itself can be the most lethal weapon of all. He circles the neighborhood, still taking any chance he gets to pose for the cameras. That's a spike strip the officers have laid out to blow his tires. All 4 tires are flat, but the only thing that seems to stop this guy are TV cameras. The cameraman later reports he said, "Hey Mom, I'm sorry, but I love you." He plays more games with the police. He stops. The cops start to get out. And off he goes again on 4 flat tires. One tire's completely blown off the rim. He slows for the crowd gathered on the street. And when he stops for more pictures, he finally seems to realize this dangerous game is over. He puts both hands out the window in a final sign of surrender. He drops to the pavement. More TV cameras capture his final act. Soon, he'll be joining his joyriding buddies behind bars. This car hits 95 miles an hour after he forces vehicles off the road and refuses to stop for police. An officer's dash cam records all the action. This terrifying chase crosses rural Mebane, North Carolina, and police are puzzled that this driver is fleeing. The car has not been reported stolen, and he does not appear to be driving under the influence. He flies through intersections, endangering everyone in his way. He slows, but this cop has no idea what's coming next. The driver slams on his brakes.
It'll be South Carolina plate, you want a South Carolina plate. Slow it down, see what?
It seems this officer is ready for anything. Anything but what happens next. The driver hits the road hard at 35 miles an hour with his arms flailing. The driverless car continues down the highway, crossing all lanes and bumping the barrier. Fortunately, it doesn't hit any other cars, and the man who led the cops on this wild chase is only slightly injured. Police get him on the ground, but despite that terrible tumble and being handcuffed, he still puts up a fight. One officer calls for medics. In spite of this, he has no broken bones, no serious injuries, just road rash. His wounds are bandaged and he's led away to face felony speeding charges. It's a typical Tuesday at the local pawn shop. 2 employees mind the store as a potential customer strolls in.
Oh, yes, sir. All right.
he immediately takes a shine to the jewelry. As the surveillance camera watches from above, the man eyes his choices. He seems to prefer the more expensive items. He admires the item and decides he'll wear it home. 1 second he looks, the next second he books. As the thief heads out of the shop, a quick-thinking employee heads for a button that will lock him in. Then the crook takes dead aim at the door. Fortunately for the bad guy, it's shatterproof glass. But his not-so-clean getaway won't last long. Thanks to this tape, he's arrested a short time later. He's not only charged with stealing the necklace, but he has to pay for the door as well. Coming up on Disorderly Conduct, sparks fly as this crook gets creative, and guns fire at the end of this high-speed chase. Stay with us for a lot more Disorderly Conduct. There are 4 surveillance cameras running at this discount store in Columbus, Ohio, and one catches the action. As this masked man rummages through the manager's office, he ransacks the drawers looking for anything that will help him crack the steel safe. Most criminals at least bring their tools with them, but finally, he's got an idea. And look at the time. He's gone for more than an hour. No subtle safe-breaking equipment for this gangster. He's going for brute force and horsepower with this circular saw. Despite the racket he's making in the back, customers and staff seem totally unaware the place is being robbed. Between the showers of sparks and the thick smoke that's filling the room, he's lucky he doesn't set the building on fire, trigger the smoke alarm, or pass out from smoke inhalation. His safe-breaking technique actually works. He grabs a few $100s stashed in the safe, and then remembers one thing: the video camera. It's a bit late for that. This pyrotechnic robbery has been perfectly captured on tape. Two dash-mounted cop cameras are focused on a fleeing pickup truck. The robbery suspect is making little ground on these Ohio troopers. And he's desperate. The beer bottles shatter on the highway. But these cops aren't fazed by it. The suspect tries to force an innocent motorist off the road. He's out of control. That was a spike strip. Here's the view from the second cruiser. He manages to swerve at the last moment and avoid the spike strip. And that cop hauls it out of the way fast so the pursuing troopers don't run over it. But the suspect is about to run into one big 18-wheeler roadblock. This trucker has been alerted on CB radio by other truckers that a pursuit is in progress right behind him, and he's determined not to let this guy through. He's carefully choreographed this move with the truck in the right lane. The two trucks have the road completely blocked. This chase is about to be over. Or is it? The truck driver forces the pickup into the guardrail. One officer climbs over the truck. But the suspect dives out into the brush. The trucker moves his rig up the road as the manhunt continues. The cops quickly apprehend the driver and end the pursuit right here. And now he's looking at serious jail time. A 24-year-old suspect speeds through Seattle in a stolen sports car. It's the second vehicle the perpetrator's allegedly stolen today, after police say he committed 2 residential burglaries with a 16-year-old female accomplice. Police caught her, but now he speeds through Seattle's 35-mile-an-hour streets doing 60. More than a dozen officers are close on his heels. That's fender bender number 1, but it does nothing to slow him down. He hits 100 miles an hour as he accelerates up the shoulder of the highway. Suddenly, he makes a U-turn, flying down the highway and past a motorcycle patrolman. He forces his way through traffic and barrels down the wrong side of the street. The suspect tears through the greens at the Wayne Golf Course. Back on the street, he heads south as citizens start taking the law into their own hands. Still, the chase resumes and he's up to more than 70 miles an hour again. But these Seattle officers close in on him. He pulls into a private driveway and a woman runs for her life. Finally, they cuff the guy and read him his rights. He's charged with 5 felony counts, including first-degree theft and attempting to elude a pursuing police vehicle. Now he faces up to 6 years in jail. Fortunately, no one was injured in the chase that lasted nearly an hour. The owner of the stolen Subaru tried to cash in on his battered coupe's notoriety and advertised it for sale on eBay, but it didn't sell. More disorderly conduct is right around the corner. A pursuit through Hollywood turns out to be a family affair. And a North Carolina crook rams home his point. Disorderly conduct is coming right back at you. Burlington, North Carolina. Police spot a robbery suspect and attempt to pull him over. Cops call it a felony stop, meaning officers are on high alert for trouble. And it turns out that's just what this guy is. The driver quickly hits 80 miles an hour as he recklessly swerves down the middle of the road. Other drivers wisely get out of his way.
It is agreed.
Moments later, the driver loses control. And slams into the police cruiser. But he doesn't stop here. As he heads back to the main highway, officers know they've got to end this quickly. Sparks fly as he now has every officer in this small town on his tail. His car is damaged from ramming the police car, and suddenly he loses control again, sideswipes a tree and comes to a stop. Then he bolts for the bushes.
They got everything simple. Okay, good job.
The dashboard camera stays on the car. Cops stay on the suspect, and he's quickly arrested. Delaware County, Ohio. Police pursue a stolen car suspect up Interstate 71. As speeds hit 90 miles an hour, troopers from throughout central Ohio join the chase. There's too much traffic to use a spike strip, so the cops have to find another way to end the pursuit. The suspect hits another car, and an 18-wheeler slams on his brakes to avoid hitting him. The driver strikes another car, and it flies across the highway. When troopers pull up, it appears this is a code 4, meaning the situation is under control. But appearances can be deceiving. His car is dead, but he's not ready to give up just yet.
Put your hands out the window now!
As the driver climbs out of his window, troopers notice a shiny object. That's a screwdriver in his hand, and he won't put it down. He walks directly toward a trooper who has his finger on the trigger. An officer is justified in shooting when his life is in danger, and this suspect is close to crossing the line.
Driver, on the ground now! On the ground now! Driver, on the ground now! On the ground now! On the ground now, driver! On the ground! Driver, on the ground!
The man gets one step too close, and an officer opens fire. As the man inches towards the gun, the officer behind him is hit by a stray bullet. The drama finally comes to an end. The man with the screwdriver is shot twice. Fortunately, the officer is only grazed by the bullet and will be back on duty within a week. Hollywood, California. Inside that Chevy Impala are two women who tear through Tinseltown. It's a mom and her daughter, and cops suspect that they were out bonding by buying dope. It's Saturday night here in Party Central, and pursuing officers are slowed down by heavy traffic. Finally, Mom and her kid decide to give this drama a real Hollywood touch. They stop directly in front of the Kodak Theater, home to the Academy Awards. The large crowd gives this the appearance of a movie premiere. But when one of the stars of the show emerges from her limo, she's told to face the pavement rather than photographers. The daughter calls out for her injured mother, who's still in the car. The mother was hit by flying glass when her vehicle sideswiped a police car earlier in the pursuit. She's semi-conscious, but careful cops cuff her anyway. daughter goes to jail. Her mother is taken to a hospital where she'll later be booked. And this real-life Hollywood action thriller is finally over. Up next, a driver does some serious off-roading in a stolen Cadillac. And an officer is accosted by an unusual sort of perp.
He's got to be pinned in the car.
Next on Disorderly Conduct. A suspected car thief attempts to pull away from police in the Cincinnati suburb. He ignores both the speed limit and any sense of safety, as he almost loses it on this turn. Soon, he and his passenger find themselves trapped in this cul-de-sac when both of them try to jump out of the moving car. The driver jumps away and flees on foot, but his companion is run over by the back tire. His escape effort ends when he's caught several blocks away. As for the passenger, she's lucky she's not seriously injured. The driver of this stolen caddy tears through the quiet streets of Lockland, outside Cincinnati. He swerves all over the road, makes dangerous passes, and blows right through stop signs. Finally, the caddy makes a left and speeds out of sight. But this officer refuses to give up. The driver's suspected of being a dangerous felon, and this cop wants him off the road before someone is hurt or killed. As soon as he spots the cop car, the suspect does everything he can to shake his tail and comes very close to disaster. Suddenly, he slows for traffic, but not for long. He heads into a residential area. He flies through school zones and tries to squeeze the caddy through one gap that's just not big enough. But the scrape of metal doesn't slow him down. Eventually, he starts to lose control of the battered caddy. He hits a curb and then makes a hard left into a parking lot. He flies over the embankment, skids across the road, and roars down the grass parkway. He smashes through a sign and barely misses some power poles. He skids back onto the road and then onto the grass, clearly out of control. Suddenly, the car takes off, and while it's airborne, the driver is hurled out and nearly run over by the rear wheel. Not only does this driver survive his high-flying crash, he's up and on the run. Cops are after him in cars and on foot, and they bring him down. It's a normal traffic stop in Hancock, Ohio.
You don't have your front plate. Do you have your license on you?
But this routine stop suddenly becomes out of the ordinary when the officer gets some unexpected backup.
I'll tell you what, you got your privileges here. I'm going to go back, I'm going to write down a warning on that for the plate, and be careful of the turkey if it attacks you. I'm sorry. I don't know.
The cop doesn't need any help here, but the turkey insists on sticking around.
Jason, I have no idea. It's right there. I'm sorry, man, but that burnt out nowhere.
And even though this officer and his partner get a big laugh, the fact is, this turkey's got them in an unusual hostage situation.
It's chasing me. I can't get out of the car without it following me. Do you hear it?
But it doesn't end here. 2 days later, the turkey's back on the scene. You think this trooper would be on the lookout for the suspect. But the turkey finds him first.
He's got me pinned in the car.
It's not easy to get traction on a cruiser with turkey talons, so he tries again.
Well, he's now on my hood.
He seems determined to keep the cop cornered, but the officer wants out. He's calling for serious backup.
What can I do about this turkey? Well, I want to try to keep him from getting hit. If I could get a net or something, I could probably trap him pretty easily.
Reinforcements are on their way, but they seem to need encouragement before they tackle this bird.
But if you guys get out of the car, he'll come after you. Come on, you chicken!
Cherry Sunday.
Get ready for the new Slammin' Saturday night. It's locked, loaded, and aimed straight at your bloodshot eyes.
Get the away from me.
With 5 hours of destruction, pain, mayhem, and action.
I'm gonna smash your little head.
Guaranteed to rock and shock you back to life. I can't even describe what I'm seeing. The new, ever more painful Slammin' Saturday night. The Hurt hits home Saturday, starting at 7.
Get him! Coming at you!
Wear a cup, only on Spike.